Hi, thanks for joining me today. Have your stepchildren been poisoned against you? Maybe you don't even see them much, or when you do, they are really rude. Subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, and I'll let you know every time I post. If you find yourself in a situation where your stepchildren have been poisoned and are toxic against you, not responding to any communications from you, and don't even respond to generosity, you might give them things, offer them things, but nothing, then you are in a situation of probably parent alienation, where one parent alienates their children against the other parent, and it becomes too difficult for the children to maintain a relationship with both parents, because if they show too much allegiance to one parent, then the parent who needs them to be loyal to them will punish them by cutting them off or isolating them or disapproving of them or withdrawing love in some way. So the stepchild in question is often caught between two very difficult positions. They have to show total loyalty to one parent, the parent who's doing the alienating, and they are not allowed to show any form of relationship or affection for their other parent. You can either be the targeted parent or the step-parent, the partner of the targeted parent. Sometimes the alienation is directed at you, the step-parent, because you're the newcomer, you're the person who's easy to reject. It might be easier to get rid of you. So some of the poor behaviour, or all of it, can be directed at the step-parent, not the other parent. But either way, if you are in this situation, it is neither simple nor easy to solve. This isn't a good situation for the child, because the child really should be able and should be allowed to love both parents. Children are programmed to love both parents. So it's really difficult for the child to split off from one parent in order to please the other. So what can you do as part of the split off section? Well, it's more than the child's life is worth to show allegiance to you. So the best thing to do is to keep your life as good as it can be. When children grow up and realise that they were forced to be loyal to one parent at the expense of the other, it can really be quite difficult for them to come to terms with this. That time that they lost while growing up, when they could have had a relationship with both parents and they were only allowed one with one, is lost time completely. You can't go back to being a child when you're an adult. So it can be very difficult for adult children who have grown up in this environment to come to terms with what's happened. And they need as much support as possible. It isn't their fault. They've just been put in an almost impossible situation. So given that it's not their fault, you as the step-parent of the parent who's been targeted in this alienation are best to try and see beyond the child's behaviour to the difficult predicament the child is in. Sometimes it's not possible to put this situation right. It really isn't. And sometimes one has to live with the best one can do, even if it's intermittent communication, sometimes it's none at all, sometimes the relationship is extremely poor. But see beyond it and see beyond the child in this. The child needs you to be as supportive as possible. What you can do is you can keep trying. Keep trying, but keep yourself good and healthy meanwhile too. So have a good life. When the child eventually realises what's actually happened, they don't want to feel also the double guilt of having ruined your life and turned you into depression or really had a difficulty with it. It's important for the child that you've made the best fist of it and carried on with your life, made it as good as possible. Then when the child, and if the child, comes back, or at least when they get their realisation of what's been going on, they can rejoin you and not feel bad. It's important that you can welcome them back when they are ready. So that's another reason for keeping yourself good and healthy mentally and physically, so that you can be welcoming and not bitter and resentful about it. Parents have done lots of things to try and keep the relationship alive even though it's not there. Some people keep a trunk of artifacts about the time, this time when they haven't been able to see their children. Presents they may bring back from holidays, letters, birthday cards, birthday presents, photographs, diaries, all sorts of things, memorabilia of that lost time that you're having with that child, so that when they do come back, you can go back through it and not everything is lost. But as a step-parent, you're probably not so inclined to want to sort of collect love memorabilia. But as a step-parent, support your partner through this really difficult situation that's happened to them. This is not about you, the step-parent. This is not about you not being good enough. This is not about you, your character, or anything about you. It's nothing personal to you. It's only that the child needs to split you off and not be nice to you for another reason. So there are two strategies I think that can help you, the step-parent, in this. And number one is when something happens or something is said or not said, there is always a gap between what's happening or said and your response. In that gap, you can choose. You can choose how you respond to something. So if somebody walks into the room and doesn't say hello, you can choose to not say hello to, or you can choose to turn round and say, hello, how are you? It's you. You have to live with yourself. You have to live with your responses. Don't get caught in that trap of responding to the stimulus you get. A stimulus is one thing. Your response can be another, and you can choose that response. And often, in choosing a healthy response for you, you can still feel good about yourself. And that's what matters. So they can be rude, but you can choose not to be rude back. The other strategy is to set small boundaries where you can. It's important, this, because sometimes the rudeness is so extreme that you don't want to allow it in your home at all. And boundaries are difficult to set in with alienated children because they can take a view on it and then decide not to come again or something. So It's important that you set the boundaries that are small, easy to follow, that you set with them in advance. So you say, from now on, can you make sure this happens or that happens? Or one of the things in this house is that we like to say good morning to each other. Could you make sure you do that when you come into the room? If you think you can get away with that, set it. Keep setting those small boundaries to keep yourself sane. It's not easy at all, but you can get somewhere with them over a period of time. Just small little boundaries about the way we behave in this household and what we do and what we expect. And finally, as normal, the most important thing is to try and keep yourself feeling good in yourself. So nurture yourself, reward yourself for what you're having to go through. And this is one of the most difficult, traumatic things that can happen to a parent when their child cuts off from them. Believe me, it's not easy, but you only have one life and you've only got this year once. So don't throw it away. Do the best you can. We run workshops, sessions, an email response service, and we write booklets. Do look at my social media links and website link in the description box below.